Hey y'all, it's Coffee Munster, and I am back with this week's coffee recommendations directly from the cursed shelf of Coffee Munster. But first, coffee. It's only a 4 shotty, okay, not a 6 shotty. I'm behaving. I even am eating. First book from this week's recommendations. I only read a few, about 10 books this week. It's been a crazy week. Paper Girls. I read a lot of Paper Girls series. Like I read all the way through. I'm on the graphic novel book number 2. It's this like crazy cool metallic pink vibe, and I love it. But I haven't been reading it too much lately, so I'm hoping this will get me back into it. Going back to the start. Yeah, I really like this issue in particular. One of my favorite covers because it's got the whole crew on top. I really like Mac a lot. And of course, she's looking badass. And then the Paper Girls in pink with the yellow is just a total vibe. Written by Brian K. Vaughan. It's also art by Cliff Chang. I am going to butcher the names, but I will try to drop them in the description. Matt Wilson did all the colors, and then Jared K. Fletcher did the letters and design. Now, we start out in this book. This girl is in the nightmare, and it's like the whole Adam and Eve, bit the apple vibe, with a little satanic twist. And of course, she is dreaming. So this isn't real. So when she does wake up, she's just a kid. So it appears, right? She's actually going to get up early and go hand out newspapers. And obviously, Paper Girls, if you know about the storyline, it is about a group of girls who are badass, but they do, they work a paper route. So they deliver newspapers. This little girl delivers newspapers as well. But she is not a part of Mac's crew, unfortunately. And so she's going out. It's super dark outside. As you know, newspaper delivery is, for some reason, at weird ass times. But the art and stuff is like incredible in here as well, which I love. There's a group of kids, little Freddy Krueger, little Jason, they're little clown. They're all out here, basically running amok, and she runs into them. She's a lot younger than them, a lot, and you can tell. So their intentions towards her are not great, and some of the boys are like, she's little, like what the hell. And then you got Max showing up. Max got a potty mouth on her, so I don't know, maybe that's why she's my favorite, but she's really cool. So she of course can speak their like, the way that they speak, and so she does get them to piss off. The colors are so dark and like blue, a lot of blue tones and stuff here, which is really cool. Now, those boys they thought were a problem, and well, they're about to face a bigger problem. They all got together last Halloween. This is their anniversary, so it is Halloween, so that's why there's smashed pumpkins and people dressed up and things like that. But Mac is well known in the neighborhood by the cops, and so she's getting stopped by them, and all these things are going on. But really, in the background, as you saw those ninjas earlier in the story, there's these events or mysterious things happening all around, and this is kind of introduction to what's going on. They're kind of setting the pace for the story. Overall, the theme is very sci-fi, a little bit of horror. I think it's Tiffany, not Mac. A lot of people think it's Mac, but it's Tiffany was the first paper girl, for example. Mac's like the first one to really like make it a thing, and the four of them together, obviously. But it was paper boys, and so the fact that they are girls and doing the paper was also a big deal. They separate and take in the new girl, and they're trying to, just make sure the neighborhood is safe. And then they meet up back together as a group to only find out that the other group was attacked by those strange ninja creatures. They end up at this haunted looking house that everyone tells them to avoid and uncover this big, like, mysterious machinery equipment. Looks like this. Rumored from, like, having to do with like alien invasions and, scientists, things like that. So they're not really sure what, it's currently going to be used for, but they know it can't be good. And then they run into those ninja guys. They speak another language. One thought Spanish, but they're like, no, that's not Spanish. They do have the language here as well. Kind of just symbols instead of written word, but they're getting physical, and then you see the face of one of them. Clearly a creature. These girls are like super badass, they're extremely young. So it's kind of cool. But she finds an apple. So it's kind of cool because you just circle right back from the beginning of the story. Obviously, a different type of apple than in the dream, but you know how it goes. At the end of this issue, they have all the characters. So Aaron, KJ, and Mac. Mac is my favorite. And then Tiffany. Super, like, 80s vibe to it. That's how it ends. The first issue, at least. But like I said, you'll have to read more. It's really cool. If you like sci-fi, this is definitely up your alley, but it's not like, way out there that it's completely unbelievable, which I enjoy. Book number 2 is Gideon Falls, issue number 1. This is put out by Image. I really like a lot about this book, but Jeff Lemire and Andrea Sorrentino paired up on this when they were working on other projects and kind of developed this mastermind. I have a lot of these books, I think almost the whole series, so I'm going to keep reading this because it's very interesting. There's a few things going on in this first issue, but it's it's a very dark book. So if you enjoy that sort of thing, which I do, then you'll really like this one. Really well done. Graphics are great. Usually is the case, but these are like the book where in the past I've told you guys it's almost as if you have like it's almost like it's a movie. Like you have your opening credits, they're drawing you in. That's how this kind of starts, and then they hit you with the title and beginning of the story. So that's the vibe you're going to see here as well. Very, very vivid reds, and then very dull colors in general. So definitely gives the proper vibes. So we start off with Norton. He collects samples of garbage, trash samples, all from over the world. Not the world. I mean, come on. Whatever part of the world he is in, he's doing it. Just wandering around and collecting them. He takes little pieces and puts them in a jar. This is not a lot of words. There's a lot of really beautiful art. This is where he lives. Very humble abode. And he's just got rows and rows of trash samples. And then the story starts. So we start with Norton, and then we move on over to father, preacher. He's headed to Gideon Falls to take over. There's a priest that died there, and he's going to move in there. And the town is like a small farm town in the middle of nowhere. Just acres and acres and acres of land, open land. And he is taking place in this old, rundown church. So he meets up with this lady. She's really a nobody, but she's going to be the one kind of greeting him and showing him where he's going to live. We jump back over to Norton, who's receiving therapy. He thinks he's not crazy. People think he's crazy. He's got a lot of thoughts in his mind and brain, and he's collecting samples of trash, and he's kind of a conspiracy. So we continue to kind of hear him discuss back and forth with his psychiatrist. And then we're back with the priest. He's sleeping, but then he's awoken. And it's Father Tom, who they all believed was dead. Well, he's clearly not dead, right? So we follow him out in the middle of a crop yard, a big old farm full of crops. And that same black church he was just dreaming of is there. Big black barn, church. The black barn. And then that same lady that welcomed him is dead in the middle of the field. We're not really knowing who did it. We don't really have a feel for that yet, so I'll definitely be reading the next issue for that. But I'm assuming Father Tom. I mean, he looked wild, right? Or is it not Father Tom, and Father Tom just got control over? Or did Father Tom possess Father Wilfred, and then killed him? But either way, we will definitely be reading more of this story, for sure. Gideon Falls. This is issue 1. Like I said, I have a bunch of them, so I want to share some of the covers on a future video here, so please check for that. No, I gotta keep drinking that coffee. Favorite read, and I've said this probably about a handful of them so far this year, but I don't even remember which other ones were my favorite at this point, because Carmen touches on so much. The art in the story is, it's great. It doesn't just shove this deep, dark thought down your throat or into your mind. One of my favorite things about reading is the perception that the reader, the writer, the artist, whoever had, and how different those can be. Writing is so subjective, it's so beautiful, and so is the art that pairs with it, especially in comic books. That's why I love to read them and I love to collect them. Sometimes it's an art by, sometimes it's a story by, and sometimes it's both. This is both. Carmen is a story by, an art by. There are 5 total in the series. I have 1 and 2, so yes, I will be hunting for the rest. Guillaume March is a Spanish writer and artist, and he did the work on these. So let's start with issue 1. Beautiful art, beautiful colors. We start out, and it's basically talking about dreaming and how deep the subconscious can be. This is cover B, and this is by Milo Manara. Our main character, Catalina, with the pink hair, as it's talking about in this format, dreaming and the subconscious and etc., it leads you to believe that it's essentially a flashback. It does say 20 years earlier, which also indicates it's a flashback. But obviously you started out with this in the beginning and then led to this, and then you have this again. So it's kind of becoming a pattern of basically going through a timeline. This is 10 years ago. Catalina and her best friend Cisco. In the beginning, you meet Catalina and Cisco and their children. Then they're teenagers, and so forth. Then we meet our beautiful skeleton, Carmen, starts with a K. I really like that because I feel like it's kind of like karma, and that's definitely a theme in my life, and I really appreciate when karma does what it needs to do, if you know what I mean. The art, the colors, I mean, it's incredible. And the storyline is even better. So she's just traipsing through this apartment building where Catalina and her roommate are. We saw some flashbacks of Cisco reaching out to her roommate, which is her best friend. We don't see her until now. This is the first time we're going to see her since she was a little girl. And as you see, she's hurt herself. Depression, anxiety, I mean, these are all real things. And unfortunately, those things lead to people making a life-altering decision. And we have stumbled upon that in this issue, but in such a beautiful way, for being such a dark moment. She's doing a little dance. She's trying to cheer her up. But clearly, there's a reason this dancing pink-haired skeleton has visited this sad woman who has hurt herself. She gives her bandages and asks her to come with her and follow her. And this is where you kind of, I mean, at this point, you know that she's no longer with us, right? And she's floating through, you know, kind of like in the ghost, in limbo mode, right? With this beautiful woman named Carmen, who she's already introduced herself as well. This is her roommate. Her roommate didn't even notice that this lady walked right through. And as you see, recognize the roommate. She's the one who's been talking to Cisco. You see the old lady that Carmen walked by earlier when she was doing the garbage. You see Catalina, really shy, just kind of walking through. She realizes no one can see or hear her. And Carmen tells her to be free. No one can see you. No one can hear you. The constraints of the world have left you. You can be yourself. But it's not easy for her to do so. It's creative in the way where this beauty can be found sometimes in the darkest moments. And for her, this is an opening moment for her, right? She feels free. She's no longer held even by gravity. And she's a beautiful woman. And isn't that usually the case, right? It's always someone beautiful and so much life ahead, and they choose this terrible act because of usually somebody else. In this case, she's found out that her boyfriend cheated on her with her roommate. I like that in each issue they go backwards and they show you the art, the layers of it, and kind of how they created the characters. So much beauty in it. It's such a dark story. Issue 2 is cool. We see more than just her meeting Catalina. Carmen does help a couple other people throughout this story, but we're still with Catalina. I thought maybe each issue would be someone different, which, I mean, I feel like that'd be really sad as well, but there's more throughout the story, just little stories. But we're still following Catalina, and this is the issue where we kind of find out, that she already knew that she was being cheated on. Now, not to take away from the deep story that is here, and there's a lot of emotions, but it's cool that it reminds me a little bit of that playful Disney vibe where, Peter Pan and the Lost Boys, fly through one of those old cities. And that's, I mean, a very pale, naked, womanly Peter Pan. But I really think it's beautiful. And I think she's very beautiful. I think she looks more like how a normal, average woman would look. And I like that. She's not perfectly done, but she's beautiful. A man that she helps on a plane, he goes through cardiac arrest. Not as sad, right? So maybe that's the thing too, is like, depending on how you go, how you leave this world, maybe dependent on how much time you need in between. The art in these stories. So she's trying to get his attention. It's fun. It's playful in parts. She's up there and she's trying to get her man's attention. He doesn't see her. No one sees her, right? She's gone. So even now he can't see her, but he couldn't see her before. And she wants to give up. She wants to jump. It's hard to tell if Carmen wants her to or not, but it seems like she does. She says that she's so heartbroken and sad and down that she doesn't even need Carmen. And then she gets sad and she's like, no, I need you, don't leave. And then she gets kind of the push she needs, I guess. And this is kind of where it ends. So is this figuratively or is this real? Is she completely, that's it, she let go, she releases her body? Or will we see in the next few chapters that maybe she's got a second chance or something? I don't know that it's going to be a happy ending, right? Because it needs to be more raw and real. Again, with the art, which I do really appreciate. The harder to see. Love this cover particularly just because I love the colors. And then I like that they have her there because that's Catalina. And then, of course, you got Carmen. And she's also very beautiful. That's it for this week. It's short and sweet. I just did 3 out of the ones I read. I read a few books this week, but not all of them were worthy of a recommendation for sure. But these 3 are all 5 out of 5. I don't think I had any issues or any feedbacks on either of them. So definitely check them out if you have time. But most importantly, I hope that this inspires you guys to read more, whether you're reading solo with your kids or your significant other or even just a friend. Turn on some music, get yourself some junk food and some coffee, smoke them if you got them, but enjoy yourself and read. Hope you guys have a beautiful day. Bye.